That one?
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Mark.
Sorry to interrupt.
Not a problem, not a problem. Um, we are recording this session in case you want to check it later to review any material or check it again before you take a quiz. But once we begin, you may be asked to respond to a question, or you may have a question yourself, and this can be handled either by typing your question in the questions pane in the panel along the right side of your screen, or by raising your hand or clicking on your hand so you can be unmuted, giving you the opportunity to share verbally with the entire group. And assisting in the background tonight, you've already heard him chime in once, and I've encouraging him to chime in whenever he can, because he's a great help. And this is Mark Miller. He's going to be monitoring our the question pane and the hand raising. So he'll be taking care of that, as well as handling the recording of tonight's session. So thank you, Mark, for helping out. And please, as I said, jump in whenever you have any comments to share.
Thanks, bud.
I also want to apologize ahead of time for my voice. I'm getting over a cold or bronchitis or something pretty heavy, and hopefully I won't get into any coughing spells tonight, but I do want to apologize for anything that might be disturbing to you tonight if I have to cough or anything like that. But this is delegation course number 207, a master's program level course, a required course for the Lions University master's program, and which is designed to help the Lions lead on the district level. And the master's program involves the completion of the 10 required courses, which you see on the left side of your screen, and the electives on the right side, of which you need to have at least 5. This is the sample of a course page on the Lions University website, lionsuniversity.org, and this shows a page in the bachelor's program listing the courses offered in that particular level. So this shows all the different courses that are being offered on the bachelor's level. The master's program page would have very similar information, but would include the courses on the master's program. And if you were to click on any of those courses listed on the page, you'd then be taken directly to that particular course page, giving you all the details for that course, along with a link to register for the course and links to any handouts that the course may have available. We even have a calendar page, so you can click on that particular page to see what courses are scheduled in the coming weeks and months ahead. This slide shows what a course page typically would look like. It lists the course name and number, gives a description of the course, shows you who the faculty member is, and gives you the links to register for the class and any course materials. And if you haven't already done so, you will have to create a separate username and password to get in to register for the course and have access to the quiz. And after participating in the webinar or watching the video on the webinar you click on the Mark as Completed box down at the very bottom there with the red arrow, and that you will then be allowed to take the quiz from that point forward. When you complete the quiz and submit your answers, you will instantly be given the results, which is very handy. And you can then click on the My Account tab at the top of the page and see firsthand view of the courses you've completed in both the bachelor and master level program. So in this particular slide, on your left-hand side there, it shows in the green if you've completed that particular course and the other courses that are being offered that have not been taken yet. And it gives you a progress report, an up-to-date progress report. So it's a nice little handy tool that Wendy Kane has it's put together and developed in the last couple of weeks, so we appreciate that. And tonight, I will be your faculty member. As I said, Bud Wall is my name, and I come from Illinois, multiple District 1, and I have the pleasure of bringing the course to you this evening. So for delegation, let's look at our objectives for this evening, and they are quite simple. We want to first define what delegation is. Then we'll talk a little bit about why we should delegate and what are some of the advantages of delegating. And then once we talk about why we should be delegating, we'll discuss how one might delegate effectively and how we can get the most out of properly delegating a task. Now, before we go on to the next slide, I'd like to ask if anyone would like to share with the group tonight their definition of delegation, what you feel the meaning of delegation is. You can type in the question box, or you can raise your hand and we'll have Mark unmute you, and so you can verbally share your definition with us. We'll give you a little bit of time to type in your definition, but if you wish to go live, just raise your hand and we'll have Mark monitor that. We'll give you a couple of minutes to do what you want to do, and have Mark share the information with us as we go along.
And you've already got someone very eager, so AJ, you're unmuted. Do you have a definition you'd want to share? AJ, you with us?
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, AJ, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, the way I've always defined delegation is understanding the entire task and then being able to break it down into pieces that you could then give to people so that they're able to excel in that portion, but then the entire task can get done better, more efficiently.
Okay, good.
Okay, that's on a major project or some type of a major task where you're going to, it sounds like you're going to need more than one person to take care of completing that task. So that would be a good way to take care of it on a large scale. Anybody else? Thank you, AJ.
Yeah, and John's also got his hand raised. John, you want to share your answer?
Delegation is the assignment of authority or responsibility.
Well, that's not bad. That I think covers my next slide. Very good, John.
We've got a couple of typed in, Bud, if I can share those right quick. Shelley says sharing responsibility and workload. Lori says providing instructions to a committee chair or zone chair, and then make sure you follow up with the chair to be sure the task has been done. Michael says having your minions do chores that you cannot do yourself. And with that one, I'll turn you over to respond to those.
Minions. Okay, that's a good choice of words. But and what was the very last part of that?
Minions do chores that you cannot do yourself.
Okay. Well, I think I'm going to pass on that one. There are a lot of different types of definition of delegation depending on what you're thinking about delegating out, and that sounds like something Jama and I might do at home. Okay, this is a chore I don't want to do at home. I'm going to let her do it, or she's not my minion by any means, but I could get in trouble there. I think I'll just stop and go on to the next slide if you don't mind. We'll give you what Webster says. And this is what I think John goes back to. This delegation is the transferring of responsibility and authority for completion of a task to other people. And that's basically what John said. And that is a good round definition. The transferring of responsibility and authority. Too many times we see someone like a district governor delegate a task to someone and only to continue with the task on their own in some form or fashion. For instance, a district governor may receive a notice from LCI notifying them, or from maybe their multiple district GMT, notifying them that someone has inquired about joining a Lions Club in their district, and they are provided the contact information for that potential new member. The district governor may hand that information over to the district GMT to have them follow up with the interested individual. But then at the same time, while the district governor is delegating this assignment out to the district GMT, I've seen in some instances where the governor may still choose to contact the individual himself or herself. And this causes problems when you have two individuals making contact with the same person at the same time. It doesn't say much for how well organized we are in our association. The most important thing to remember about delegation is that you have to have trust in the person you're delegating to, that they will get the job done. You're transferring the responsibility for that job and the authority to other people. Not the full responsibility and authority, because you are still overall responsible, since you're designating that out, delegating that out. But you are transferring a portion of that responsibility and authority to somebody else. So let them do the job. You give them the opportunity or the responsibility and authority to carry out the task, and once that transfer has been made, you need to let them do their job. So enough with the definition. And before we go into some other areas, we're going to talk a little bit about why delegation is not used. And there are some cases when you will not be using delegation. It's a choice, and sometimes it's a choice that has to be made. It might be too important of a task. Perhaps a district governor, as a district governor, you receive an application, for instance, from LCI for the Advanced Lions Leadership Institute, and the request that your district send someone to that institute. You could probably talk to some of your district leaders if you didn't have someone in mind, but this would be an important item that you would need to take care of yourself, since the Lions, since the lion you're recommending would be your own recommendation. And a lot of times there is a timetable on that particular request, and so you want to make sure you get information from other folks, but you're going to be the one that would be assigning that registration over to somebody. It might be too complicated of a task. Another reason not to use delegation. For instance, figuring out your club visitation schedule for the year. This is just an easy one that I thought of way back when I was district governor. Figuring out your club visitation schedule for the year can be very complicated, considering you would need to know the meeting times of all your clubs, plus any scheduled district or multiple district events or activities, any local multiple district foundation events or activities you need to attend, your own work schedule if you're still working, your family time, any vacation time, other organizations you're involved in personally that need to take some time. So no one but you actually would be able to complete or compile all of the needed information. So it would be very unlikely that you would delegate that particular task out to somebody. Now, there may be other better examples, but again, delegation, for very few times would you not delegate something out. But these are examples of when you may want to consider not delegating and keeping the task for something for yourself. It might be time sensitive. You might receive a communication that needs to have an RSVP within a very short amount of time, and instead of wasting time to find someone to take care of the task, it might be best to do it yourself in a timely manner. And it could be especially if it's a request from LCI that's needing information as soon as possible, or maybe even something from within your multiple district you need to respond to. That's something that you need to take care of yourself. You know, it's done in a timely manner. Another reason, you just don't want to give up control. You know, in the first three previous examples, it would be in the best interest of everyone involved, I think, if the district governor did not delegate out those tasks. If it's too important of a task, too complicated, or if there's a time restraint. However, there are times when not delegating could be harmful. A district governor who does not want to give up control will delegate less, far less often. And this is not a good thing because it portrays, for instance, an I'm in charge attitude or I'm going to remain in charge attitude. And with that comes very little trust that no one else can do the job. So you're portraying that particular behavior and that attitude and not building a trust within your district leaders. So that it is not good just because you don't want to give up control. Another reason is which falls right. This other one that just fell right into this next example, which falls. The district governor simply doesn't trust others to get the job done, and so many times you see that happen where it's not an important task, it's not complicated, but they just don't trust anyone else to get it done. So that's another reason why they don't delegate out. And then, of course, you have the person who just wants to do it all. I think we've all seen those individuals, whether it be at work, other organizations, but certainly in our Lions clubs, and I've certainly seen it within my own district, where not only on the district level, but even back to the club level with the club president. But in this case, with district governors, they're in charge. They're going to make sure everything is done their way, and they get that done by doing it all. And these last three reasons for not delegating, though not productive and certainly not in the best interest of everyone, sadly are found among some of our line leaders. So those are three reasons. The last three reasons are not good reasons, but they are reasons that occur. So why should one delegate? Well, in my opinion, there are three basic reasons to consider delegating. No one can do it all. As a district governor, you have a lot of responsibilities with your position. And when you include your job, if you are employed, your family, your recreation time, and everything else you are involved in your own community, you need help to get it all done. Effective delegation will help you get through your year, because we can't. There isn't anyone that can just do it all themselves. Another reason, basic reason to delegate: no one knows it all. The governor doesn't know everything. I'm a past international director. When I was a director on the board, I didn't know everything. And as a past director, I still don't know everything. I'm not going to know everything. Our president of Lions International doesn't know everything. None of us do. There are other Lions around us that may be more knowledgeable on certain things, so we need to use them and use that to our advantage and to the advantage of the betterment of all. You take advantage of the more knowledgeable and more experienced Lions that surround us, and that's just good business and good practice. So you want to use the best talented people that surround you. And the other reason is more can do more. Alone we can do little. Together we can do so much. If you have a list of 10 things to do, it will take you a lot longer to accomplish each thing on your list than it would if you had 9 other people helping you. So more hands do more work. pretty logical and easy to think about, but sometimes it's pretty hard for some folks to realize that and get away from delegating. But these are the three basic reasons why we should delegate. Now I'd like to take a moment to ask you what you feel are the benefits of delegating effectively. And again, we'll do this through the question pane or through the raising your hand. But when we have a task that needs to be delegated, why do you think we should delegate it? If you would like to type in the question box or raise your hand and share your thoughts, we'll have Mark Murray's keep again tonight and help us out monitoring those areas. But give me a list of benefits. What you think are benefits for properly delegating, effectively delegating.
Chris says get more done with the time available when you're in time restraints.
Okay.
AJ says I use all the brains I have and all the brains I can borrow.
That's great. I like that.
Let's see if anybody's raised their hand. Rogue says participation of most, if not all, in a team. Dawn says, all share in the success and also learn.
Exactly.
Leanne,
more everybody learns. Yeah.
Leanne says, give others a chance to grow and a chance to involve many. Kevin says, use of others' skill sets. Shelley says, people with more expertise in these areas would benefit the situation. Lisa says, train future leaders.
That's a good one too.
And Gary says, more ideas come from more people helping.
A lot of that comes, some of those can go right into the three basic reasons to delegate, especially that more can do more. I've heard a lot of benefits of delegating that come out of the more can do more bullet that's on the screen right now. You've given anything else you have there, Mark? Otherwise, we'll just go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's there's a few more coming in, but one more. Chris says knowledge of other people to make things more productive, which I think is kind of an underlying theme that they're all sharing. Yes.
Yeah, it is. They've given some very good benefits from delegating, and now I've got 2 slides full of benefits, and let's see how many of your benefits are on the next couple of slides. And as we go through this, I'm sure you'll see quite a few of them are on here. As I said, I've got 2 slides, and this one shows, I don't know, half a dozen or more. It saves time. Your list of 10 things can get done quicker, when you have 10 helping instead of just one person. Empowers others. You transfer the authority to make decisions to others. You give others an opportunity to see what they can do. More hands to do the work. That's pretty easy to think about and to realize. And assigns a part of the responsibility to others. They're given the task and they're given the responsibility to see that it does get accomplished. More ideas, solutions possible, and I heard that brought up once or twice during the sharing there. More minds at work to find the best solutions or idea. That's something that's very similar to brainstorming. When you brainstorm an idea or an activity, there are no wrong answers, no wrong thoughts, and you just have everyone involved just throw out ideas about this particular subject, and the more minds you have working on an idea or a subject, the more possible solutions that you'll come up with and or ideas, and then you can, as a team, work together to find the best solution. But more ideas and solutions are possible when you give it that task to somebody else. Creates a sense of ownership to those involved. They have ownership to the task and feel responsible for its success, and so they will personally do whatever it takes to get the job done. It's very similar to any other idea that you want to be brought forward to be recognized. If you let others be involved in that decision-making process, they become an owner of that process and an owner of the solution. So they're more subject to support and encourage that particular solution. So when you create a sense of ownership of those people involved, that happens through delegation, because it's their baby now, and they're responsible for the finalization of that project. So they want to make sure that they do a good job, because it goes on their record. Enforces a sense of self-importance. You feel important enough to have been given a job to do. And a lot of times, especially with new district cabinet officers, district cabinet chairmen, if you, as a district governor, delegate something off to a new individual on the cabinet, or a new zone chair or something, and give them some extra responsibility, or give them a task to perform, it shows that to them it feels like their existence and their position and their self-worth is more important now, because they've been recognized as someone that is capable of fulfilling another task, and so their sense of self-importance is enforced through that. And you make the best use of talented people around you, and that was brought up during the sharing just a moment ago. There are others who know more. There are others who have more experience, and there are others that can do some things better than you. So use that to everyone's advantage. Get the best people around you to do the job. And on this next slide, we have some other examples, I think, that have been shared with us already too on occasion. Inspires motivation. If someone is given a responsibility, others will be motivated to make themselves available for future consideration too as well. If you assign something to someone, they're motivated to do a good job, and other people will see that and will be motivated themselves to be available, make themselves available for future considerations on anything that might be delegated. It encourages it encourages creativity, initiative, and independence. When a job is delegated, you're looking for the end result, leaving the path to that result up to the person in charge. It creates excitement and energy. So when you delegate a task out, the delegation should be given, and we'll talk a little bit about this later on in the program, about the different things that need to be included with that delegated authority, but the end result is what you're looking for. How to get to that end result, you don't necessarily need to pave the way. You don't need to say, this is what you have to do now, this is what you have to do next, and this is what you have to do in order to get there. You give them the beginning and the ending parameters, and everything in between. As long as it fits within those parameters, let them be creative, because they might find they may find a better way to do something than what you had previously thought of. They may find a quicker way, a more efficient way, and so give them some independence, and delegating will encourage creativity and independence. It also offers an opportunity for growth and development among everyone involved, and that was mentioned in our sharing. Taking on a task may be the first step to bigger and greater things for someone. again, it might be a new cabinet position person, or someone within the district that is new and there's been something delegated out to them, and they will they will learn along their way with the experience, and they will grow as a person, and the organization will grow. And it might be something that if they accomplish at a good position, then it might be something that will help them grow in the future to bigger and better things in the organization, higher up on the district level, and maybe to another higher office. So it's an opportunity for growth, personal growth and development among everybody involved. And it helps develop skills. Benefits of delegating will help develop skills in others. Sometimes new skills are learned or enhanced along the way that otherwise might not have been nurtured. So you learn as you go, and you learn on the job training. A lot of stuff is learned in the process, and through mistakes or just through experience and through knowledgeable people that surround you. So everyone can develop their skills when they do something like that, and especially if it's something new that they're taking on. Delegating to others allows you to do other specific tasks. It saves you time. It gives you a little bit of extra time to do the more complicated and important tasks that might be on your list that we talked about earlier. So delegating some tasks out will free more time for you to do some of the more complicated and important tasks. It keeps everyone involved. The more you have involved, the more likely they are going to remain involved even after your year as district governor is over. They will, as long as they know that they are respected and that their presence has some meaning, and they're contributing to the success of the district, they're going to keep involved. It's sort of like retention of our members in our clubs. If we don't keep them involved and keep them active, many times they walk out the back door. This is the same way on the district level, benefits of delegating and keep more people involved, not only that year, but we'll keep them involved in future years too as well. And it also increases efficiency. More things get done in a more timely manner, plain and simple. The more people you have doing the things that need to get done, the better off you are, the more timely that those things are going to get accomplished. And so that's, like I said, it's pretty plain and simple. So now that we've shared, and I'm sure there's other benefits that are there, as well as some of the ones that you've shared, but many of the ones that you shared earlier have been included in these two slides. So now that we've shared the benefits of delegating, let's take a look at 5 basic rules for delegating effectively. And this, I think, gets down into some nitty-gritty areas of the proper way to delegate. The first rule is we need to identify the task suitable to delegate. Keep in mind that you don't have time to do everything. You have to prioritize your tasks and assess your own personal strengths and time availability. Some things you're good at, some things you're not good at. Sometimes you're not going to be available at all times to do things. Look for opportunities to involve other people. Delegate tasks that take too much of your time, or that others can do as well or even better than you. Remember that delegation should be motivating to the other person. Don't just delegate something that's a boring task or things that you just don't want to be bothered with yourself. That's not motivating to the person that's having the delegation. So don't just delegate boring tasks or things that you just don't want to be bothered with yourself. Another rule: select capable, willing people to carry out the tasks. Try to match the task that you want delegated to the abilities and interests of the other people. Excuse me. Assign tasks only to those who have determined that you have determined have the skills and experience necessary to tackle the task at hand. Don't give something to somebody that you know doesn't have the capability of fulfilling the task. Don't give them something that you know that they're going to fail in, because that doesn't do anyone any good. Try to give match the task with the experience and skills at hand. Remember that the greater the skill level of the person involved, the less time required by you to supervise, because there'll be some times when you'll be needing to supervise or coach or be involved to a certain level over that particular delegated task. And so the more skill level that person has, the less time is going to be required you to carry on that supervisory role. You might even involve others in helping to find capable, willing volunteers. You may not know specifically who you need to assign something to or delegate something to, but in conversation with some of your other line leaders, you might be able to get a pretty good hand on who to contact for those specific tasks. The third rule: explain your expectations. This is very, very important. It's sort of like the governor picking his or her district chairpersons or a zone chair or a region chair if your particular district has region chairs. You just don't go up to someone and say, "Hey, would you like to be a zone chair?" Well, yeah. What's involved? Oh, no, you don't have to worry about it. Not a whole lot. Maybe you have a couple of meetings of the year, and that's about it. But oh yeah, okay, I can do that. Well, they don't know. You need to give as much information about that particular task as possible. Make sure that the other person knows what your desired income is. Make sure that the assignment is clear. They need to know what resources are available to them, whether it's material, publications, whether it's reports that you get from LCI or from your multiple district, or if it's other individuals that would help in the task. They need to know all those available resources. What the timetable is. They need to know what the timetable is. When does this have to be resolved? When do you need the answer or whatever? When does the end result have to be accomplished? And including any reporting schedule along the way. And it's good, especially if you have a time frame that expands over several weeks or even months of a project or something that you're delegating out. You need to have some type of review dates in there, some timetable of to check on the progress reports on how things are being accomplished, and then again make sure they know when that completion time is needed. Let them know what part of a project is theirs to perform. If they're going to be working with other people, let them know, okay, this portion I want you to do, and then so-and-so is going to do part of it, or if they're assigning those other portions of the task out, make sure they know their responsibility and their authority to do that, and who those other people might also be involved with in the program. So this is a very important rule, and just make sure that all the expectations are known to the person when you delegate it out. So many times the expectations aren't there. They're not shared with the person, and you're just leading up to failure for all concerned at that point. Delegate the responsibility and authority. If you have provided the desired outcome to the individual, you should let people decide their own path to reaching that goal. And I think we talked on that a little bit briefly earlier. There are different ways to get the same results. Encourage creativity and innovation, and recognize that another person's path of completing a task may be different than what you had in mind. But as long as the end result is obtained within the time parameter set, it really doesn't matter what path was taken, as long as it's a legal and moral path. You shouldn't have any problem with that. Along with the responsibility goes the authority. Remember that you are giving authority to another person to fulfill what needs to be done. Be sure others are aware of that authority if the task involves more people. Make sure everyone knows who is in charge of that particular task. You need to receive the person's commitment of the task at hand and their willingness to accept that responsibility, and that's an important part too. If you're delegating out responsibility and authority, you need to make sure that the individual is committed and willing to accept that responsibility and authority. If they're not, then you need to find another individual, another person, another party to take on that task. And maintain accountability. And establish an agreed upon reporting procedure and some deadlines so that you are kept aware of the project status. We talked a little bit about that earlier. Offer encouragement and support whenever necessary. Be a coach, be a cheerleader, be a mentor, be someone with knowledge and experience to assist in any way you can. Remember that you are still accountable for success or failure of that particular task. Even though you've delegated it out, it came from you and it's coming back to you, so you are still responsible and accountable for the success or failure. And finally, give credit where credit is due. If you've assigned a task out to someone and that task is successfully completed, give credit to the person who completed the task. The worst thing that you can do is to assign a task to someone, and when that task is completed, stand up and take all the credit. I've seen it happen, not only in Lions, but in other areas of my endeavors, whether it be at work or around the community. Someone assigns something out, and you might even be, at work. Your boss might tell you something to, give you an assignment and delegate a task to you, and you do all the work, and you come up with the completion of that task, and then your boss takes all the credit. I've seen that happen too, and that's you're less likely to have success with any future delegated projects if you take that position. So that's an important thing to remember. Give credit where credit is due. Well, let's take a look now at what we need to, what we set out to do tonight, and see if we met our objectives, and hopefully we have. We wanted to, as I said at the beginning of the webinar, our objectives were quite simple. We just basically wanted to define what delegation was, give some examples as to why we should delegate, and then show how we can delegate more effectively. And I think we've met those objectives, and I hope you're able to take something away from tonight's webinar that will help you in the future, in any of your future delegating role. We've got a little bit of time here before we move on to the last remaining slides, and I just wonder if there's anyone out there that has anything in addition that they would like to add as far as delegation, any experience they've had, or anything that we may not have covered this evening that you may want to share with someone else, with everyone else on the panel tonight. So if you would, if you do, raise your hand, and we'll have Mark call on you one more time, or type something in the question pane there, and we'll have Mark monitor that too as well. We've got a couple extra minutes, so we'll give a little bit of time for that and see if anyone has anything else they want to share.
Dawn reminds us, Bud, that one of the most annoying things is when someone that micromanages once they've delegated a task. And that can be very frustrating as the person that's trying to do what you were delegated to do. That's a good point I think we need to keep in mind.
That's right. That's exactly right, Don. And I think we touched a little bit on that earlier in the webinar. But yeah, if you give something out, micromanaging that particular task over not just supervising or coaching, but almost doing the task after you delegated it out, that really doesn't do much for motivating that person or motivating anybody that sees what's going on there. So that's a good point, Don. Thank you. Do you have anything else there?
AJ's got a comment. He wanted to remind us, how about setting a goal to get them to stretch but not break? And so back when you were talking about expectations and setting them, setting that so that the person actually grows, which fits very well to another comment from Dawn earlier that goes back to the minion comment, is effective delegation changes minions into leaders.
Oh, I like that. I like that. When effective delegation could result in a future leader, someone that performs a task effectively within the parameters, within the time restraints, and gets the end result with success, encourages themselves and motivates themselves to go on and, well, I was able to do that, and I'm sure there's something else that I can do, and I can do even more, and it becomes a stepping stone for stepping blocks for those individuals to become future leaders. That's good. It's a good point.
Kendra's got a point. I found that if I spend a little personal time with club members and get to know them, they are more receptive and will want to work with me and accept the role as a delegee.
That's a good point too, as well. It's especially if you have something you want to delegate, you're bound to have more success delegating to someone that you have a relationship with, that they know, you know them, you know what they're capable of. You're liable to have greater success in delegating something to a person like that than you would to someone you don't even know, to someone that was just introduced to you. You really have no idea what their knowledge is or experience or skills are. And like I said earlier in the slides, make sure that you, when you do delegate out, that you delegate to someone who has the skills or has the capability of getting those skills or getting assistance to fulfill the task at hand. So, yeah, that's a good point that she brings up again.
And another point that's been made here on the questions comment is delegation is a means to evaluate the capability of future leaders for larger, more important assignments. That's
correct. And we talked about that quite a bit with developing future leaders, and it's a good way to, if they fulfill the task, and like I said, in the proper parameters and time restraints, and they're successful at it, it encourages them to move forward, and it allows everyone else to see who was capable and who did the job that they were assigned to do. And by golly, that might be a good zone chair next year, or that might be a vice governor candidate next year, or within a few years. They've taken on these different tasks and they performed them well. Let's cultivate that individual to see if we can't get them encouraged to move onward. So yeah, that's great. Some really good points.
Yeah, and one more I think we've got time for. Leanne says, to explain the rubber band method, stretch the limit but don't break. Be flexible enough to accomplish the task. Spend time with members who are willing to help, and don't be afraid to let them do it. The end result is, of course, the goal.
Right. Yeah, those are all good points. All points that we hopefully made this evening, and I like the one about the rubber band. Stretch it as far as it'll go, and be flexible enough. You don't set the path. Let them take whatever path they want, and be there to let them know if they're not going in the right direction, or they're taking too much time, or monitor those progress timetables that if you have to establish those, make sure that they stay on their on path and or on their desired path, and if there are any obstacles along the way, you need to be ready to assist with either yourself or giving them more resources to accomplish the task at hand. So you need to monitor those as well. Those are good. Well, I think we've had some good sharing tonight. Not only the information that we provided in the webinar, but the individual offerings of your experiences and your thoughts were, I think, invaluable to the webinar. So we appreciate that, and thank everyone for participating this evening and putting up with my occasional cough and sore throat. But we'll move on now, and just to make sure that you are aware of our discussion board that you can find on the lionsforum.org website, and clicking on right by the green arrow there, the discussion boards. This is something that really hasn't been used a whole lot in our experience so far, but we would hope that the use of it increases. You can go on and click on there, and we encourage you to continue the conversation on this topic in the discussion board, and you can go on there and find the course and join in any future discussion. I'd like to remind you of the two webinars coming up in the next 2 weeks. Next week, on Tuesday, March 24th, we have Using Diplomacy, which is a master's program, a required program through the master's level. And in 2 weeks from tonight, March 31st, we have a bachelor's required course, Club Success number 103. And of course, you can register for both of those courses on the lionsuniversity.org website on the calendar page. And remember that our courses all start, our webinars all begin at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And on occasion, we have people coming in right when we're wrapping up on the webinar, forgetting that it started at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and they might be in Central Standard Time and coming in at 8 o'clock, so they're just getting into the very end. If that happens to you, the webinars are recorded, and by all means, once the recording is uploaded onto the course page, you can click on that and view the webinar recording before you go into the test, into the quiz area. So remember that, and talk about the quiz. That's our last slide here. Just a reminder that you can take the quiz immediately after, by going onto the course page, which is listed down at the bottom there, lionsuniversity.org. Go on the master's page, and it's course number 207, Delegation. And you can click on that slide, or click on that page, and at the very bottom of the page, it says there's a Mark as Completed tab. I think we talked about that at this onstart of the program tonight. If you click on that after you've completed the webinar, The next tab that comes up will be next unit, and you can click on that, and that will take you immediately to the quiz, and you can fill out the quiz. And there's 10 questions on there. You need to, I believe, answer 7 of them correctly. And I didn't make it too terribly hard, but it covers material that we had in the webinar this evening. So I encourage you to go on and take care of the quiz. So with that, I want to remind you, I want to thank Mark for coming in and filling in behind the scenes with monitoring the recording and also the question pane and raising of the hand. And thank you, all the attendees, for joining the webinar tonight. Remind you to also log out of the session by clicking on the small X at the top right-hand corner of your screen and confirming in the next box that will appear that you're logging out. So with that, I want to thank everyone again, and we hope to see you again in future webinars. Have a good evening.